Hi guys, it's Emily from Novel Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my January wrap up part 1. Now, I'm actually doing a far better, sorry I'm getting myself comfortable, far better this month than in some ways like last month. Well, last month, the first half of last month went really well, but this month is again going really well, but I've actually saved some good books for the second half, so that's hopefully going to mean the whole month's going to go well. So just to give you a sneaky peek, in the second half I'll be reading my Page Tune book, 101 Dalmatians. I've got The Governess to read, and I've got a Kristen Hannah to read, and you know how much I love her. So those ones I've saved for the second half. But I've read some great books so far this month. So far I've got 5 5-star books this month, 2 4.5, 3 4 stars, 2 3.5, and 2 3, which is quite good. I kind of like, again, I started off really well and then I've had a couple of slumpy books, but they were books that I picked off my shelves and they just didn't feel as good. But I'm not going to beat myself up. Again, it's like not a stress. It's, you know, it is what it is. But I have got some good news. I've got some books. I'll first of all show you the books I am currently reading. On the book buying, heads up, I'm having a really bad month in the fact that I bought way too many, because I've kind of been enjoying myself and I've been a bit, I'll be honest, like I am in this video, I've had a bit of a slumpy month in my mental health and my physical health. As you well saw from the start of my videos, I've had a cold and I'm recovering from that. That's great, but I've started experiencing quite bad flares on my knee. No, they've been happening on and off for the last year, but this week has been a really hard week and I felt really low, and like I said, coming out of the Christmas that didn't go as well as I wanted it. Just various little things. I felt a bit low, so I've kind of comfort bought. But I am going to get myself back on track until I go book shopping at the end of the month. But you know, anyway, on a positive note, let's show you the books I'm currently reading. I am doing about nearly halfway through this month's worth of pages for Catherine Howard for the Tudor Along. I'm going to read a bit of a chunk today. I think, considering I've got, how much have I got to read? So I always try and save stuff for February. So 253 and I'm on, so I've got about 150 pages to read. So I think today I'm going to read like a 50-page slot. I'm going to do a big chunk of that, but it's going quite well. Catherine Howard is definitely the tated queen. She's definitely the queen that got very manipulated by her family and kind of got herself into stone. We all know what happened to her, but yeah, I'm reading that for the Tudor Along. So obviously the next Tudor Along live is going to be going on Gemma's channel at the end of, no, probably the early April. So yeah, that's going well. The best news is that I'm reading my Nickleby Pages differently this month. You know how Bleak House I read in 1 month and I really slogged, didn't connect with it, really struggled, thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to cancel my Dickens along. I thought, what the hell am I going to do? So I listened to some lovely booktubers. I remembered what Katie from Books and Things had said about how to read Dickens. I sort of spoke to Charlie from Charles Heathcote, and I spoke to quite a lot of other lovely booktubers and got their advice, and they said to read it in chunks, like read it, you know, like you say, you read it as it was published, so you read it in big chunks. So I'm like basically having 1 day a week where I read about 100 pages and I do it in a big chunk, and that day I won't read the pages for the Tudor Along, so that takes off that pressure. And reading it that way is going so much better. I'm not losing where I am. I'm getting enough in one big read that I'm getting connected to story. I really like Nicholas Nickleby's sister. She's the one I'm really connecting with. And Nicholas Nickleby really impressed me in the last pages, because he hit some. And he did really good, and I really connected with it and I really liked it. There are still some bits that I go a bit, oh, okay, that's a bit of a sloggy bit and I'm not connecting with that bit. But most of it I am. So when I read next week's pages, it's about Kate Nickleby. But the chapters are quite good. I'm reading it in slots like that and I'm finding it a lot more enjoyable. So hopefully I will like this a lot better. This is definitely a book I connected with more. It's a bit more of a funny book, and Mrs. Nickleby, and I've got the Kenwigs a little bit, but yeah, I'm definitely connecting with this more. So that's a good one. So those are my books that I'm reading all month. And then a book that I started last night, so I really can't say too much about it because I only started it last night, and that is A Million Dreams by Danny Atkins. This was a doodah book. This is a proof copy that I found in a charity shop. I don't know whether I'm going to give my copy back to the charity shop because it's a proof copy, and I know you're not really supposed to be selling proof copies. But it's a gorgeous proof copy, so I'm hoping I do connect it, so I want to keep it. And basically, this is about Izzy and Beth, who basically had something bad. It looks like it's going to be a sad book. It looks very hard-hitting. Like I said, I've only read about 50 pages, and it's definitely going to be hard. At the start, we literally get that one of the characters has something very bad happen to her at the start. So she loses her, can't really say. And then Izzy born, and the next happen. Two main characters, Izzy and Beth. And 8 years ago, something happened to these two women. Something that is about to bring them together in a way that no one thought possible. I think I got the twist. I think I guessed what's happened, but I'm not going to say just in case. But yeah, started it last night. I'm going to try and read some of this in the live show, which is on Gem's channel later. I'm going to read some of this then. And I've also got another book that I picked for my live show. But yeah, this one could potentially be quite a good book. I do love Danny Atkins' books, so they're quite hard, but they are very hard-hitting contemporaries. So whether I should be reading them before bed, I don't know. Anyway, you'll hear more about the Danny Atkins one, certainly in my second wrap-up part 2, because the other ones you won't find out about till February, because they're obviously being read over 2 months. Now for the books that I read. 2 of these I finished last night, and they're actually, Oh, I've just realised one of them, I can't find where one of them is. Oh, fudge. Okay, I'll find that. Oh, yeah, there it is. And 2 of them I finished last night. So the first one is 59 Memory Lane. And this has got an older protagonist, which does match one of the prompts in our readathon, which I will link down below. My readathon TBR, actually, I will link that down below. And this is about May Roosevelt, who's reached the grand old age of 110. Thanks to several slices of toast with butter every morning, a glass or 2 of port, and the wonders of the Cornish sea air, or so she tells everyone. There is a bit of a twist in this, but there is much more to May than her remarkable age. She has a secret, and that one that no one has ever discovered. That secret has actually annoyed me, and I didn't like it, and I didn't like what she does to get that age. But I don't know if that's because it just hit on something with me. We have got May as the protagonist, but we have got a romance story in it, and there is a lovely character called Emily in it, who I absolutely love. And not just because that name's Emily. Why is it? I've got 2 books this month. One of the lead characters is called Emily. And there is a romance, and there is an overprotective dad in it, and there is lots of other depths in it that not about May. But I think that what knocked it down to 3 stars was the key bit of the story about how May reached her age. And that really got to me, and I don't know why, but it really did. So that is why it's only 3 stars, and that's why it's going to the charity shop. Then my non-fiction book my TBR jar pick was again a flop. What is it? But I'm going to blame the fact that this is the TBR jar pick from last month. No, last year. This is last year's, like the one that was left over from last year that I ended up picking for January. And it's definitely going. It is very hard-hitting, and if you like non-fictions, like I think Alex from Alex Black Reads, she would like this. It's set in America. And you have the whole, there's a very big grief that happens at the start of this, and it's set in the 1970s about an ordinary girl and extraordinary circumstances of a childhood lost and found. And this is about a child and her family losses. There's lots of loss in this, a lot of grief, loss of a parent. At least I would definitely be able to say, because there's loss of one of the parents certainly very early on. And at the start she's got 2 cats, which I love because obviously I'm a cat owner. But yeah, there's a lot of triggers in this, a lot of very hard hitting. Really struggled with it. Yeah, it's not even going to my mum. Those 2 are definitely charity shop books. Then for my 3.5 star books, this one I read, and I'm gutted with this one. This is 3.5 stars. It is a high-end 3.5 stars, but it's the first in the series. If I find the other books in the series great, but I don't feel the need to keep it. Look how long it is. Very big book. And this is actually set, and the passion of this book would start the Tudor dynasty. But it took so long to get to that point. When our own first child is tragically stillborn, the young Mette is pressed into service as a wet nurse of the court of the mad King Charles VI of France. Her young child is Princess Catherine de Valois, whatever, I can't say it, caught up in the turbulence and chaos of life at court. Mette and the child form a bond, one that transcends Mette's lowly position. But as Catherine approaches womanhood, her unique position seals her fate as a pawn between the two powerful dynasties. Her brother, the Dauphinois, and the sinister Duke of Burgundy. They both use Catherine to get to their thing. And that is hard-hitting, but there again are some very big triggers in this book. If you want to know, please let me know down below, and I will let you know in the comments, but I won't say them now. But there are a lot of triggers in this book. It's a very hard-hitting book. It is interesting to find out what started the Tudor dynasty, and I definitely want to read the next one if I see it in the charity shops. But this is very long, and it packs a lot in, and it packs very hard-hitting. But considering I loved one of the other Joanna Hickson books I read, this one wasn't quite there, so... yeah, Mum won't cope with that. So that's another charity shop. And then to my next 3.5 star book, and it's short story collection. What have I got about short stories? This my sister Charlie is going to have, because she will love it, because she's really good with short stories. I read a lot of this on the other live reading sprints last week that was on Jack from Favourite Joy's channel. I am going to link all my other my co-host for the readathon down below. That live sprint was on Gemma's channel, so if you want to watch it, feel free to go ahead. I will say that, again, this is short stories, and this is by Alice Walker. Some of these short stories I loved, and some of them I didn't connect with. I tried to read them, like, separately and in chunks apart, but because I've got so many books to read, I struggle doing that. Some of these short stories were absolutely amazing, and others were just meh and too short, or I just didn't connect with. It is interesting, and I am good. You know, I love Alice Walker's work. The Colour Purple is one of my favourite books. But again, some exceeded the others. So that's Charlie's going to have that over there. Then to Breakfast at Tiffanys. No, I don't think I read that one in the life. I read the Breakfast at Tiffanys in the life. My brain is not going on. Breakfast at Tiffanys is also, we're now on the 4-star books. Breakfast at Tiffanys. This little short story collection has Breakfast at Tiffanys and then 2 other short stories, A Christmas Memories and The Diamond Guitar. I decided to rate the rating of 4 stars for Breakfast at Tiffanys, not the other 2 short stories that are in this collection, because Breakfast at Tiffanys was 4 stars. Absolutely bloody loved it. I read this, I think I read most of the book in the live and some of it afterwards, but yeah, I actually really enjoyed Breakfast at Tiffanys. I loved it. It was, it's like, it's just so good. It was really enjoyable, and it's about like Holly Golightly, and I loved it, and it was fun, and it was exciting, and it was very fast paced for that very short story, but it was really good, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, the other 2 were meh. So I decided to rate this because it was some short stories on Breakfast at Tiffanys. And my phone. So, sorry guys, I do not want to have to stop and start this video, so I'm going to do that and do that, because I do not want to have to start and stop it. So, because I don't want this video to stop, that was another one for Charlie, I think. Now to the other 2 4 stars. The first of those 2 4 stars is Love on the Brain by Ellie Hazelwood. I absolutely loved The Love Hypothesis, but for me, Love on the Brain was not quite as good. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's because I've changed. There was so much sex in this book, it was unbelievable, and I didn't really enjoy it as much. But it was still 4 stars, and it's one of my most gorgeous books, so I'm definitely going to keep it and try and read it when I fancy some sexy stuff. But there was so much sex, and it was just a bit too. I wasn't in the right place for it. But you've got like Levi, the sexy, attractive, tall, dark, mysterious guy, and then you've got obviously Marie. No, that's not Marie. B. Connings with a little. There are some very hard-hitting bits in this as well, but this is really good. It's a really good book. It's about a sort of scientist. It's set in America, and I think for some people it would be very good, and others it just wasn't. I just don't know if I'm too old for it, or I just didn't fancy those sexy scenes. It was a good 4 stars, and it was probably 4/4.5. Just didn't get to me the way The Love Hypothesis did, so it's 4 stars. But yeah, I know, I'm just going to keep it. I'm going to put it back on my shelves. I don't know where yet, but I will put it back on my shelves. And then to the last 4 of my 4-star book, I've got Wartime Friends by Margaret Dickinson. My mum gave me this, and it's one I'm definitely glad I read. Again, it's a chunky book, so it's set over quite a long period of time. About friends, about set in World War II. Brilliant book. Margaret Dickinson does not disappoint. She's a really great writer. And it's set, the start of it's set in 1940 in the coastal Lincolnshire, and Caroline Holmes is doing all she can for the raw effort. Raised on a family farm, she battles with her mother. And then she's got a very bright younger brother, Tom. And then you've also got, she has like a rivalry with Phyllis Carter, who's a bitter war widow from Great World War. And then you've also got Beth Morley, who becomes her friend, and she meets her somewhere else. I'm not going to tell you where. And that's really good. And it's a really good book. Definitely a really, really good book. 4 stars, really cozy. And Mum's read it, so I'll go straight to the charity shop sales. There. Now to my 4.5 star books. Both of those are really, really good. You obviously got Cinder, which was for the prompt. Actually, I need to go through this and tell you which books were for which prompt. Cinder was for the prompt of a book set in the future. It's the first in the Lunar Chronicles series. And yeah, I want to reread this series. What I forgot was it does tackle chronic pain, does tackle disabilities as well. We all know the Lunar Chronicles. It was a reread, but because it's my own copy, and the last time I read it, it was Charlie's copy. I didn't count that for the rereads on my shelves. And it's about a gifted mechanic in New Beijing. She's a cyborg. It's basically like a Cinderella retelling, and it's really good fun, and it's set in the future, and reread it, and I think it went up 0.5 star from 4 stars originally to 4.5 stars. Absolutely loved it. So that one was going back on my shelves. Oh, I don't know if Mum's read that, so yeah, that one's back on my shelves. The other 4.5 star one is one I'm not going to keep, but I think my mum might like it. And that is very, very hard hitting. It's 100 Years of Lenny and Margot. And that was for the prompt of the older protagonist. And very, very hard hitting. So, at 17 years old, Lenny knows only too well that life is short. Living in a hospital, she's about to discover it's not only what you do with your life that counts, but who you share it with. And then she meets Margot, who is 83 years old. And you've got their stories about how they came to hospital, their histories, because between them they make 100 years old. And it's really, really good. And it's very hard hitting, and I cried a backload. But it was really good. I've just remembered that while I'm doing this, actually, I might as well say, I think Love on the Brain was a book I was really looking forward to. Where am I? Breakfast at Tiffanys was a book set written before I was born, set before I was born. And then You Can't Keep a Good Woman Down was for the prompt of a TBR veteran. Now you have got, I can't even remember actually Love on the Brain, but that was what prompt that was for. Let me have a look. Sorry, my brain is going gaga today. This is going to be a fun video, aren't I? There you go. So Breakfast at Tiffany's was for that. Yeah, Love on the Brain was for a book you're looking forward to. In the 5-star selection, which is just about to appear, was a feel-good book to set the tone for the rest of the year. And that really was a feel-good book. So, these are all 5 stars. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. 2 of which are favourites. Can you guess which 2 are favourites? Even if you guess one of them, which 2 will be favourites? The first book that was in my 5 stars was The Party Crasher by Sophie Kinsella. This was such a fun read. I think I'm going to keep this to reread it because it was a really good laugh. And it was Sophie Kinsella's book that I think came out in paperback last year, came out in hardback a few years ago. And it's a very fun, fast-paced book, but it was fun, but there is like sort of strong meaning behind it. And I can't really read this because there we go. Effie's still not over her parents splitting up over a year ago, and then there's a family party and she goes into it to go and really find something that's really important to her. She goes to the party and she sees someone from her past, and then she finds out stuff about her family and realises things that aren't always what they seem. And it was a really, really good feel-good book. Actually, I think I might get that Mum and read that. This one might be a good one for Mum to read. But yeah, it was really good fun. Just what I needed. It really did make me smile. Now to one that she is definitely going to read, even though I'm going to want this one back. And this was my book that was for the prompt of a book that you're really looking forward to. No, a feel-good book to start the year. Feel good because about impulse purchases, and you all know what I'm like with impulse purchases. Although mine are mainly in books, not anything else. But you know me. I'm very impulsive. And at the start of this book, what would you do if you had the chance to follow your dream? At the start of this book, we've got 3 ladies from 3 generations. Sherry, Maggie and Rose. Mother, daughter and granddaughter. And they all have their own hopes and dreams. And at the start, Sherry buys a pub without checking with her husband, without checking with anyone else. She just randomly buys it because it's in her home village from where she was born, grew up. It's a place that makes her happy and her go-to place for where she feels the best. And it's got the community and it's got the feel good about the community spirit, and it's such a good book. And this pub is really run down. It needs to be completely basically redone. And she brings her daughter and her granddaughter in to help. They all have their different talents. They all have different things they can bring to this. And OMG, I absolutely loved it. We find out their histories, but rather than it all not being kind of connected, they do connect really well. And then you've got other characters from this community where they bought the pub that come into the storyline. And they're extra little ones that really just kind of give it a bit of a fill in it. And I bloody loved it. I really enjoyed it. They all three women uproot themselves and move to Rushbrook, deep in the heart of Somerset, to take over the Swan and restore it to its former glory. Sherry's at the helm, Maggie's in charge of the kitchen, and Rose tends to the picturesque garden that leads down the river. And they all learn things, and it is just such a feel-good, great, brilliant book. Mum's definitely going to love it. Then we got my book that I reread every single flipping year, and that is Our Doris. I was reading it for both the two Charlies, who are linked down below. They are running the Our Doris read along. So you're reading this book this month. You've got 2 books next month, and then the last book, Royally Doris, in March. Yeah, March. This is a reread for me. 5 stars all the way. Thoroughly loved it. It's Our Doris's story. It sets up the whole series. It is could also be a feel-good book. You could match so many of those prompts. Feel good, older protagonist, makes me laugh. Loved it. What have you got with me? Absolutely incredible. I read it every January, and I think I will read it every January, because every time I read it, I get something else out of it, and every time I read it, I enjoy it that bit more. So that's going on my shelves. Then for a book that this is an ad PR product. It was a book for it was a book for an ad PR product that I got sent by Tandem Press. I haven't actually had any luck finding any new ones for them. They haven't sent any read-along books out that I really fancy, but this is incredible. Absolutely loved it. It's got a lead character called Emily in it. Again, but this is different. Me and Emily have very different lives. She is 28, I think, in this book. And obviously I'm a lot older than that. She's single. She's had something happen to her right at the start that we find out as part of her history. And something that does change her. Have you ever wondered with how normal you are? What if you're perfectly average, more than anyone else? For Emily, it's true. When she watches her documentary of an average human, she sees her life, her job, her hair, her favourite food, all of her. But she wants more. She'll travel the world or venture out of her hometown. She'll become a vegan. She'll do something daring. Nothing will stand in the way of Emily living her best life. Now, my review of this is obviously on Goodreads and on Instagram. But I will say there were certain points in this I connected with, because when I had my car accident at the age of 18, I realised that I wanted more for my life. I wanted to go out and I had certain dreams that I wanted. And every time I've had a dream, I've pretty much met it. Bar being married, hint, hint, Christopher Hill. But apart from that, I've actually got a lot of my dreams. I've gone abroad. I've got 2 gorgeous children. I've done something like, I've got myself a BookTube channel now. I've done things that have challenged myself. I went on a 2-seater aeroplane once. And that's something I really want to do, daring. I wanted to do things because like that, I felt I'd wanted more from my life. But there's nothing wrong with being ordinary. I think there are lessons to be learned in each of these chapters. To me, one of the most important ones actually was about being authentic and about being true to myself. And that's something that I try very hard to do on here, on my channel, on BookTube. I spent years trying to be someone else, trying to be my sisters because I thought they were far better than myself, trying to be anyone else because I didn't think I was good enough. So that book resonated quite a lot with me, and it's a really good book. I love the author of Rebecca Ryan. She's on BookTube as Bex Ryan author, I think. And she's a lovely author. She was responding with all of us on the read along. Fantastic book. One I thoroughly recommend to everybody. And Mum, yes, you're definitely going to read that. And then last but not least, a book that I read for a buddy read with a lovely guy from Gaia Athena, who I think she's still taking a BookTube break. This is the first in the Seven Sisters series. Everyone said that I would love this book. It's the first of my series books that I finished. And OMG, I loved it. It basically, Maya Please, it's the eldest of the 7 sisters, or 5 sisters, and then we've got the missing sister at the end. And when their father dies, Pa, he gives them keys to find out her history, and she goes off and searches for her history, and we have the timeline of her finding out about her ancestors to the present timeline. Again, the two really connect with chapters. There is big sort of chunks where the storyline, different storylines, so you don't get lost. Very hard hitting again, but so good, so full of love, so full of sisters, so full of differences, different personalities, and about how your past can make you as you are. I thoroughly love this, and I cannot wait to carry on with the series. It is just, if all the other books are as good as this, I set up for life because it's a brilliant series. So yeah, actually I think Mum can read this as well. She's going to hate me again, but that's 5 stars. So what do you think are going to be my favourite books? Press pause if you want to and think about it. Yeah, you're thinking. Thinking for me is very dangerous. Right. So, first of my favourites, obviously, 7 Sisters. Second was the impulse purchase, because I think with the 3 women, 3 generations, thoroughly loved it. So, what have been your favourite books of the month so far? Let me know down below. And I would love to hear. You know, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, not subscribed yet, ring on my ding-a-ling. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.